Hello MotoGP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Honda released the first footage of its RC214V prototype, the 850cc machine being developed for the 2027 MotoGP regulations, revealing initial wet weather running at Sepang and offering the paddock an early glimpse of HRC's direction under the new rules. At a MotoGP Hall of Fame dinner, Valentino Rossi offered a candid and layered assessment of the 2026 season. Surrounded by fellow icons Dani Pedrosa, Jorge Lorenzo, Casey Stoner, and Giacomo Agostini, Rossi spoke with the authority of a rider whose career defined an era. His reflections touched on Marco Bezzecchi's rise, Pecco Bagnaia's struggles, Marc Márquez's enduring dominance, and his own definitive refusal to ever ride a MotoGP bike again. Rossi's words blended technical insight with psychological wisdom, reminding everyone that racing is as much a mental battle as it is a mechanical contest. Marc Márquez has given one of the clearest rider takes on MotoGP's 2027 technical overhaul, welcoming the move to 850 cubic centimeters engines while predicting lap times may not fall, and could even improve. Speaking at a sponsor event, the reigning champion framed the changes as a necessary safety recalibration but warned that the season ahead will be one of constant development and adaptation. What began as a measured acceptance from Ducati over the Burum sprint penalty has hardened into a sharper public line from both Gigi Dall'Igna and Marc Márquez. Initially, the factory framed the decision with a neutral, "We accept it, but we don't agree with it." In the days since, Ducati's general manager and its lead rider have both amplified their criticism, describing the steward's call as questionable and underlining the fine margins that define late race aggression. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. The HRC test team carried out the RC214V's maiden outing on December 17 at Sepang, with Takaki Nakagami aboard. Honda's short social video shows the prototype running in wet conditions on treaded tires, giving fans and rivals a first look at the new package. The clip arrived months after the test itself, underlining Honda's cautious rollout of information. The footage confirms the prototype has completed initial laps in mixed conditions, but it is only the start of a long development program ahead of next year's regulation change. The 2027 rules cut engine capacity from 1000cc to 850cc, tighten aerodynamic allowances, and mandate Pirelli tires. In the video, Nakagami describes the bike as super light, and the prototype appears to run a familiar aerodynamic silhouette despite the forthcoming limits on fairing width and tail height. Honda's early setup still shows current-style aero elements that will need revision to meet the new dimensional rules. Reporter: early impressions are encouraging on weight and handling, but the visible aero package suggests significant development work remains to fully comply with and optimize under the 2027 rulebook. Nakagami led the initial tests, while Alex Espargaro will continue developing the 2026 RC213V until the official Barcelona test on May 18, after which he will join work on the 2027 prototype. Honda plans to let its factory riders sample the RC214V at the Brno test on June 22. Other manufacturers, Yamaha, KTM and Honda among them, have already run 2027 prototypes in private sessions, while Ducati and Aprilia have not publicly tested their 850 cubic centimeters machines yet. Honda's staged approach, test rider first, then gradual involvement of factory riders, is typical for a major technical shift and aims to balance development speed with controlled feedback. The switch to 850cc, reduced aero and a new tire supplier will reshuffle performance envelopes across the grid. Honda's early focus on a lightweight chassis and wet running data is aimed at building a versatile baseline for the season ahead. How quickly each manufacturer adapts to the new tire and aero constraints will shape competitiveness in 2027 and influence mid-season development races. The first public footage is as much a technical statement as a PR move. It signals Honda is on the road with its 2027 program, but leaves many questions about outright pace and regulation compliance unanswered. Honda's RC214V video gives the paddock a first, measured look at the manufacturer's 850cc prototype, promising on feel and weight, cautious on aero. As testing continues through Barcelona and Brno and rivals step up their programs, the coming months will reveal whether Honda's early promise translates into a competitive package under the new MotoGP rules. Rossi praised Marco Bezzecchi's determination and consistency, pointing to his victory in Thailand as evidence of readiness to fight at the front. Bezzecchi's ability to recover from mistakes and maintain focus under pressure impressed Rossi, who sees him as the strongest of his academy riders at present. Yet Rossi was blunt about the limits imposed by machinery. Ducati's technical package remains superior to Aprilia's, and that gap is decisive in the championship equation. Bezzecchi is very focused, he wants to win. But the Aprilia is a bit worse than the Ducati, so beating Marquez with a slightly worse bike? Impossible. The comment underscores MotoGP's reality. Talent alone cannot overcome mechanical disadvantage. Rider brilliance must be matched by technical excellence, and until Aprilia closes the gap, Bezzecchi's challenge will remain uphill. Turning to Pecco Bagnaia, Rossi observed a decline in the qualities that once defined his style, particularly braking stability and corner entry precision. He suggested that Marquez's relentless speed magnifies Bagnaia's difficulties, creating a psychological burden that compounds technical issues. In MotoGP, confidence dips translate into lost tenths, and against Marquez those tenths are decisive. Rossi implied that Bagnaia's recovery will require not only technical fixes but also mental recalibration, a reminder that performance at the elite level is inseparable from psychological resilience. Rossi emphasized that his role as mentor within the VR46 Academy is primarily psychological rather than technical. Yes, I give them more mental than technical advice. He helps riders manage pressure, sustain belief, and channel focus, ensuring raw pace translates into consistent results. This philosophy explains the Academy's success. It is not just about lap times, but about building resilience, confidence, and the ability to thrive under the immense scrutiny of MotoGP competition. Rossi's influence continues to shape riders like Bezzecchi, Bagnaia, and Morbidelli, equipping them with tools to withstand the mental toll of racing at the highest level. Asked about the possibility of riding a MotoGP bike again, Rossi was unequivocal: he will not return. He dismissed speculation of a comeback, saying he has no desire to test or race in the premier class. Instead, he continues to train with Academy riders on superbikes such as the Yamaha R1 and R26, maintaining his presence in the sport through mentorship rather than competition. His legacy now lies in shaping future champions, not chasing lap times, and his refusal underscores a shift from personal ambition to collective guidance. Rossi's reflections distilled the season's themes: Bezzecchi's emergence as a challenger, Ducati's supremacy, and the decisive role of psychology in elite racing. His verdict, that Marquez cannot be beaten with inferior machinery, captures MotoGP's essence, a duel of human skill and mechanical advantage. As 2026 unfolds, the title fight will hinge on who best marries talent with technology, while Rossi continues to shape the narrative from the sidelines, ensuring his influence endures even without a return to the grid. Marquez argued the displacement reduction responds to runaway top speeds that were outpacing circuit's safety margins. With riders approaching 360 km per hour on some straights, he said the speeds were unnecessary for the show and increased the danger because runoff areas were becoming inadequate. Reducing peak velocity, he suggested, is a pragmatic step to protect riders without stripping the sport of its spectacle. I think that's an unnecessary speed for the show, and it increases the risk a lot. The comment echoes the championship's stated goals: lower costs, improved safety, and a more sustainable performance envelope. Crucially, Marquez explained why lower top speed does not automatically mean slower lap times. He expects lighter, less powerful machines to be more agile, enabling higher cornering speeds and later braking, factors that can offset lost straight-line velocity. With ride height devices banned, aero limited and tires switching from Michelin to Pirelli, the overall package will change the bike's behavior, but not necessarily their lap time potential. I think lap times at many circuits will be very similar, or even faster, because you have lower weight and horsepower, but better handling. The insight reframes the debate. MotoGP performance is a balance of acceleration, braking and cornering, not just top speed. Marquez highlighted the tire switch and aero restrictions as major unknowns. Riders have developed an instinctive feel for Michelin compounds. Adapting to Pirelli's grip and degradation will be a significant challenge. Reduced aerodynamic aids will also alter stability under braking and acceleration, forcing riders and engineers to rethink setups and riding styles. He described 2027 as a development season where manufacturers and riders who adapt fastest will gain the upper hand. Marquez was candid about uncertainty. No one can promise they will have the best bike under the new rules, and adaptation will vary across riders. He admitted he cannot be sure he will adapt faster than others, framing the year ahead as a continuous learning process for both men and machines. Nobody can guarantee that you will have the best bike. No magic wand here. And, as a rider, I don't even know if I'll adapt faster than the others. The remark underlines that 2027 could reshuffle the competitive order as teams discover which concepts work best with Pirelli rubber and a new aero envelope. Marc Márquez's assessment is pragmatic and cautiously optimistic. Slowing peak speeds is sensible for safety, but the essence of MotoGP, close, fast racing, should survive through improved agility and smarter setups. The 850cc era promises technical challenge and strategic opportunity, and the paddock's ability to adapt will determine who thrives when the new regulations take hold. In his customary post-GP LinkedIn summary, Gigi Dall'Igna did not hide his frustration. He framed the sprint as a race Ducati had to manage intelligently, and said Marquez was doing exactly that before the steward's intervention. Calling the penalty questionable, Dall'Igna pointed to the sprint outcome as an unfortunate turning point that cost the team a deserved result. A questionable decision by the stewards cost him the victory. The language marks a departure from the team's initial neutral line. We accept it, but we don't agree with it, and signals a more assertive defense of their riders' actions. Marquez has been measured but candid about the incident. He explained that he received the penalty notification at the penultimate corner, and therefore had no realistic opportunity to respond before the final lap. While he accepted the steward's authority, he described the move as borderline and emphasized how aggression spikes in the closing laps, forcing riders into defensive actions. I had to respect the penalty that was notified to me at the penultimate corner. In the last 2 laps, the level of aggression always increases. Marquez's comments underline the split-second nature of racecraft and the difficulty of retrofitting a penalty into a live, high-pressure situation. The stewards judged that Marquez left insufficient room when repassing Pedro Acosta, citing contact between Acosta's bike and Marquez's left foot peg as the decisive factor. Because the dashboard warning arrived late, Marquez could not immediately alter his approach, which complicated his ability to comply with the instruction and arguably influenced the final outcome. The timing of communications from race direction has become a focal point, raising questions about how and when penalties are conveyed and enforced during a race. The dispute feeds into a broader debate about consistency and transparency in stewarding decisions. Teams and riders want clear, timely directives that can be acted on without compromising safety or competitive integrity. Ducati's public pushback, backed by Marquez's measured critique, may prompt closer scrutiny of stewarding protocols and the communication chain during races. If the paddock perceives inconsistency, pressure will grow for clearer rules, faster messaging, and possibly revised procedures for in-race penalties. What began as a terse acceptance has evolved into a sharper critique from Ducati and a reflective defense from Marquez. The Burum sprint penalty has become more than a single result. It is a flashpoint in the ongoing conversation about how MotoGP manages on-track contact, late race aggression, and the mechanics of stewarding. The fallout will be watched closely as teams press for clarity, and the championship seeks to balance firm regulation with the sport's inherently aggressive nature. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!